Hello YouTube, it's Cyan here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today is Saturday early in the morning. It's about 2 a.m. And last night, Friday, I had watched the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and man, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. I have about 3 little negative thoughts or ideas about the show, but everything else is purely positive. I really enjoyed the show quite a lot. Overall, I thought that the show was really good. I was really excited for it, and it didn't really disappoint me at all. In fact, it made me quite happy. However, it is not as action heavy as you would think that a Star Wars show would be, but it actually is very much in line with what I thought an Obi-Wan introspective character show would be. However, it does still have enough action and drama and tension between characters there to keep you entertained, so I think that's great. I really enjoyed it. And I don't really have any major complaints. So far, I would say that the story is an 8 out of 10 because I would have really liked just a little bit more of action, maybe a little bit more flashbacking to previous things, although we did get a lot of that. And I think that episode 1 was fantastic, but episode 2 kind of dipped down a little bit, and I think that that had to do with the focus shift of the story, but also because the first one is set up, however, very full of setup, and also very connected to the prequels and to the Clone Wars and to what the future will bring. However, the second one is really where it starts to go into its own story, and I'm not sure that I loved it as much as the first part. However, I do think that they're both still good. I would say that the first episode was a 9 or a 10, almost completely perfect. There was nothing wrong with it, honestly. But no, episode 2 was more like a 7. And yeah, so episode 1 is a quick rundown of the prequels, which I thought was actually really good because I personally saw episode 3 on Thursday to prepare for Obi-Wan Kenobi, but a lot of people might have not done that. And so I think that condensing all of the prequels into this minute-long montage that was actually really well edited and managed to convey everything about the characters that was necessary and relevant to Obi-Wan Kenobi specifically was very good. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really well done. I just really enjoyed the editing, and it was a wonderful way to introduce the series. Then we had the title card, which is interesting, and then the beginning of the story, which actually doesn't start with Kenobi. It starts with an Order 66 flashback that follows a different set of characters. Now, there's a very specific attention paid to these characters, and they're these kids. We don't know any of their names, but they have their teacher, Velty, I think was her name, teaching them some sort of Tai Chi, like self-defense kind of thing. Before they get attacked, she turns on her lightsaber and starts fighting the clones, and eventually she gets killed, and the kids have to run away on their own. One of the kids was a young black girl, so I'm guessing that she's supposed to be Reva, and there was 3 other kids there as well. One of them kind of could have possibly been Nari as well, so maybe all of these kids managed to escape, and you know, all of them went different ways. Some of them were killed, one of them became an Inquisitor, aka Reva, and the other one managed to escape and live out his life well enough in order to meet Obi-Wan Kenobi before kicking the bucket. So, I don't know. I think that Nari probably didn't have anything to do with him, because then it might have been an emotional scene to show between Reba and him before he, you know, kicked the bucket. So I'm not too sure. But I thought the introduction with Order 66 was really badass. I really liked that. I thought it was cool. I really like this scene. And I really like Order 66 a lot. Honestly, maybe they should just have an hour-long episode of like a random section of Star Wars. Like just put it on Disney Plus and just have all of the Order 66 moments condensed and edited together into a full scene, so that we can just have a Order 66 you know, event or whatever. And I think that would be cool, but I don't know, it maybe not really matters too much. And then we get into Tatooine. We get to see the Inquisitors landing on Tatooine because they're looking for Nari. They're not looking for Obi-Wan Kenobi at all. No one knows that he's on the planet. They just want Nari, and it happens to be that Obi-Wan Kenobi is also on this planet. It's a very kind of what's called plot convenient kind of thing to boost up the tension, but also make sure that the character is aware of these other people. And while they're doing that, Obi-Wan is basically incognito. He's working at some weird harvesting place where they're chopping up this giant fish thing. and they're making sashimi out of it. I don't know. It looks like giant salmon, but I don't know. It was pretty interesting though, and the Inquisitors are actually pretty interesting. I would say that the Fifth Brother and the Grand Inquisitor look pretty shitty still. Like, I mean, the Grand Inquisitor looks a lot better than he did in the original photo, which I'm guessing that the point of that photo was to be like, hey, let's rip the Band-Aid off really quickly, make everyone get used to it, and then he'll look better in comparison when the TV show comes out. And I think it worked. However, it still looks kind of bad, and that's really one of my 3 major complaints. And they're not really major complaints at all. They're just kind of like aesthetic choices. Because when I watched Revenge of the Sith, I noticed that the Powans were huge. They were actually really, really tall. I think there was one scene where they're walking next to Obi-Wan Kenobi, or they're standing next to Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they're like 1.5 feet taller than him. So Rupert Friend is not that much taller, and so the Grand Inquisitor looks pretty short and stubby compared to what a Powan should look like. And of course, it's not really that big of a deal because obviously they have to be human size, but I mean, it would have been nice if they made something happen where they kind of CGI'd him to be that larger type character. And I'm pretty sure the Fifth Brother is also supposed to be a very large and imposing character. And Sung Kang just doesn't look like that. But I think he did an okay job. The Grand Inquisitor is actually very threatening and scary once he gets into his like persona. But he still is like a really funky, like melon-headed character at the beginning. However, his eyes seem to change over the course of the episode, and by the end of his discourse of his talking up thing at Tatooine, his eyes are full Sith yellow, which I thought was great. And the things around his eyes, like his weird eye bags and the lines on his head, look a little bit harsher. So I like that. I think it worked well. However, he still doesn't look correct, basically. And I don't really have that much of an attachment to Rebels. I just don't think that he looks like previous Powans. And that kind of bothers me for consistency's sake. It's going to bother me with Ahsoka when her Leku are suddenly longer in her own series. That's just going to be how it is. And I have to get used to it. It's just kind of my fault. But yeah. Then we have a really great scene with Tika the Jawa and Obi-Wan Kenobi. They're chilling in his little hidden base thing. And Tika shows up and he's like, man, I should have brought soap. You smell like shit. And I think it's really funny. And then Tika gives him a Skyhopper toy that's all broken. And Obi-Wan's like, okay, I'll pay for it. I'll fix it and I'll give it to Luke. And there's also this moment where Tika was like, hey, man, you have a problem with something else? And Obi-Wan just says yes. And he asks him for a part. And then it turns out that Tika had stolen this part and just resold it to Obi-Wan. And he has a really funny line where he's like, Tika, if you're going to steal my parts, you might as well clean them for courtesy's sake, and then I'll buy them back off you. And I thought it was pretty funny because the Jawa very dryly goes, cleaning is going to cost you extra. And I thought that was great. I really enjoyed this type of humor. I don't really like the Marvel-esque type humor, but the Jawa was really funny. I liked it. It also isn't really Marvel-esque humor. It's a little bit more dry and a little bit more in line with like Clone Wars humor. So I thought that was fun. Then we have a bit of a PTSD moment where Obi-Wan has a dream and he reaches out to Qui-Gon, but no one answers him. And then we continue with the episode where Obi-Wan leaves the gift with my boy Luke. And then we have Nari find him, and Obi-Wan's like, no, I don't know anything about this. And he kind of tries to get the kid to go away from him, but it doesn't work. And eventually the boy gets killed. However, it's not like a scene we see. He just goes away from Obi-Wan, and then eventually he's dead in the square. So it kind of sucks for him. And then enters Leia in a different scene. She's an Alderaan. And I really like her. I think the way she was characterized was very much in line with Carrie Fisher's version of Leia, which is great. However, there's also nice little bits here because there's more time to kind of play with the character that let you know that she's one, similar to Luke, but also similar to Anakin and Padme. She has a very headstrong personality, like both Anakin and Padme had. She has an interest in droids, which is very similar to Anakin, and she also is a very witty and political person, like her mother Padme. So I thought that was really cool. Then we go back to Tatooine, where Ben has a little bit of a standoff with Owen, which I thought was great. That was a sick burn. and also a very good moment between them. I thought that was really good. Then we have Owen versus Reva, which again is awesome. Owen is a tough ass man, bro. I like him a lot, actually. And then we go back to Leia. She gets kidnapped, and that's basically the inciting incident. And then Obi-Wan and Bail have an interaction, actually 2 interactions. And then it's time for Obi-Wan to go off planet, and thank God we're off Naboo. Sorry, not Naboo. I would really love to go back to Naboo. We're off Tatooine, and we're off to the races. And that's where episode 2 starts. We get a space scene into Daiju, which is this new kind of cyberpunk planet. And Obi-Wan is looking for information, but he's very rusty. He's not very much like he used to be. And so he's kind of really crap at it. And he kind of speaks into the air. He's like, Qui-Gon, this would be a really good time for you to help me out. And no answer. Then we get to see a 501st clone trooper that is drunk and off his rocker and asking for some money, which I thought was interesting. I didn't really, I believe there was a 501st clone for sure. However, the blue isn't exactly the correct type of blue. And also the shoulder pad was very shiny. It's not the dull kind of more like matte finish that you would expect the 501st to have. So maybe it's not a 501st clone, but I mean, it was a very clear blue on his elbow and on the center of his sternum. So that's very 501st-esque colors. So maybe it's not, but probably is. However, I feel like he should have recognized Obi-Wan, even if he was drunk as hell. So I don't know. I also don't know if the Emperor ever re-signed it, Order 66. I wouldn't see why he would do that. But if he did, that also makes sense why the clone didn't attack Obi-Wan. But I don't know. It doesn't really matter too much. It's not really a complaint I had. It's just stuff that is kind of interesting. Then Obi-Wan hears that there's this Jedi that's going to help him. And he goes, and it turns out that it's a scam. And it's Camille... what's his name? Camille... I don't want to butcher his name, so whatever. The guy that played Kingo in Eternals. And his name is Haja in this. S3, I think is his name. And he's swindling people for money, but he's also helping them, so he's not horrible. I really would have liked to see Hondo Tanaka in this show, and I hope he does show up at one point. But, I mean, what he's doing is very similar to Hondo. I don't know. It's just making money and profits, but while also not being completely shitty as a person. Although Hondo is definitely a lot shittier than this Haja character. And then Obi-Wan goes into a spice lab or meth lab. He fights some goons, eventually finds Leia, and then there's a lot of fun banter between Obi-Wan and Leia. I like that a lot. I think it's great. Leia is a great character. The girl that plays her does a great job, and the way she's written is awesome. I loved it. I thought it was really, really good. Very much appreciated that this kid character actually is good, so I like that a lot. Then the Inquisitors are infighting, and I'm not exactly sure why they're infighting, but we just get another moment to appreciate that the Grand Inquisitor and the fifth brother don't look that great. However, the third sister and the other chick, the second sister, I think, look quite good. One of them because she's basically just a human, and the other one has really cool orange skin. I like that a lot. She has also little head tentacles, which, as George Lucas has shown us, are very attractive for some reason. And I quite like that. Then we have Obi-Wan and Leia trying to escape. However, it's proven difficult. Then they have a rooftop parkour scene, which was okay. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. I would have really much liked a speeder chase or something else. However, given that the previous speeder chase was so badly received, it's probably better that they didn't do another one. So I think the parkour was better. However, there was 2 segments to the parkour section, and one of them was purely Reva doing parkour, which made no sense. A lot of it was pretty stupid. However, some of it was pretty cool. So I don't really understand what the point of it was, just to show off Reva's Jedi-esque skills. However, it's pretty useless because the positioning of everything was like she had to go diagonally for like 6 roofs. And instead of doing that, she went like the longest longest route possible using parkour and stupid force maneuvers. And she basically didn't catch up to them, so there was no point in her doing parkour. She could have just walked, and it would have been easier, but I don't know. That was my second major complaint with the episodes. And again, it's not a major complaint. I just felt like it was a little bit useless. Um, and then we have another moment with Obi-Wan and Leia, where Leia jumps because she's scared, and Obi-Wan has to reach out to the Force and catch her. And if I remember correctly, Obi-Wan is actually not a very powerful Force user. However, he basically dedicated himself so much to using the little Force power or Force ability that he had that he managed to basically be as good at controlling the Force as Anakin. However, Anakin had a lot more vast potential for using the Force. So what we see here is Obi-Wan struggling with something that should be very simple for a few reasons. One, he's naturally not that gifted at the Force. Two, he has not been using it for 10 years. And these two compounded into the single issue that he can barely save Leia from dying from fall damage. And Leia finally trusts him because she had not been trusting him before because she didn't think he was a Jedi, but he just used the Force, so he is a Jedi, so she's all good now. And then they have another moment where Leia kind of gets bossy and tries to take charge, and Obi-Wan says that she reminded him of someone, and he says that it was a she and it was a leader, and I immediately thought Padme because Leia is his daughter, or like Leia is her daughter, so Padme makes sense. However, the context of the scene made it more similar to Satine because Leia is very much, Padme was very much of the, we gotta fight injustices kind of person. And Satine was more of the, they did shit to me, I gotta use this to make it better for me and for my people. And I feel like the interaction that Obi-Wan and Leia had that led to his comment about her being similar to someone he knew was more in line with something like Satine, where it was like, okay, they did shit, how do I make this work for me? More than it was a, like, Padme, like, we gotta do the right thing kind of feel. So, I don't know, maybe it was just me. It could have honestly been either of them, or it could have been someone else completely. I don't know. It was either Padme or Satine, and my money's on Satine, but given that Satine has not shown up in any of the flashbacks, I'm guessing that is probably not her. So it was probably Padme. So, yeah. Then Reva shows up, and she's kind of creepy, and she tells Obi-Wan that Anakin is alive, and then he's Darth Vader. Don't know how she knows that. She probably shouldn't know that. And if Darth Vader knew that, she would probably die. However, she is a Jedi youngling, probably, so it makes sense that she would know that Obi-Wan and Anakin are friends. And she could have probably put it together that Anakin was the one that betrayed them because he clearly walked towards the temple and people could clearly see who it was. So that kind of makes sense. He also, fought Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan managed to survive. So I guess, I don't know. I don't really know how that matters or how she managed to know that, but it doesn't really matter too much. Though we'll get it explained at some point. Then Reva stabs the Grand Inquisitor, which is lore canon breaking because the Grand Inquisitor is in the Rebels TV show. However, he probably didn't die because we usually forget that most people that get stabbed die, but most people that get stabbed are humans, at least in Star Wars, right? Qui-Gon Jinn and Han Solo both died from being stabbed in the stomach, but anyone else that has been stabbed or cut that isn't Anakin Skywalker has also been an alien, and they have managed to survive. So, I don't know. Darth Maul being cut in half, he survived using Sith anger powers. However, you could just say that Dathomirians are also stronger physically than humans, and so they can deal with a lot more damage. And you can say the same thing about Palans. So, I don't really see it like they wrote themselves into a corner or anything. I think it was a pretty easy way to fix this. And so I don't really have an issue with it, but it's kind of annoying. And then we have a last bit of PTSD there for Obi-Wan. And then he says Anakin and smash into Vader's face, which I thought was great. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really cool. We get to see a lot of the inner workings of Darth Vader. He has this like weird like trachea bypass thing here. And he's got some other like weird attachments to his body, which I'm guessing is the hard points for his suit. And yeah. So let me rehash the negatives and then we'll finish off the video. So negative number one is Reva is too harsh compared to the other Inquisitors, and it doesn't make sense because her eyes don't get yellow, so she's not actually all that angry. I think she's like compensating or something. And the Inquisitor infighting doesn't make too much sense to me because from what I understand about the Inquisitors, they have a very rigid and structured hierarchy, and they're supposed to climb it the same way that the Sith do, which is by killing each other. However, they don't really do that all that often because the hierarchy is very much in place, and their strength difference is significant between them. So I'm not too sure if that matters all that much, but Reva being the lowest of them, according to the episode, hurting the Grand Inquisitor doesn't make too much sense to me. And so their infighting is kind of odd because Reva's really harsh. The fifth brother is very forgiving, or he's like, he prefers the carrot method over Reva's stick. And the Grand Inquisitor is mostly showboating and just like showing his like badassery by, telling people why he does the things he does and how he does the things he does. And so it's not really clear why they're fighting each other because they're technically going for the same thing. They should be working in better unison, especially with their rigid hierarchy. So I'm not too sure. So it's not super clear, and that's kind of what I dislike, not necessarily the infighting. I think the infighting in the group of bad guys is usually sensical. It's fine. The Grand Inquisitor still is too round and short compared to what a Palin should be like, because in the third movie, Palins are like 1.5 to 2 feet taller than humans. So, and they're also really lanky, and the Grand Inquisitor is neither of those. So yeah, and then Reva's parkour. Some of it was cool, most of it was unnecessary, and it really just wasted time and gave you like a cut to her action that doesn't have anything to do with Obi-Wan and Leia's action, and so it was great. But other than that, I thought everything was great. Like I said, this is an 8.5, 9 out of 10 TV show for sure, and I really enjoyed it so far. I can't wait for Wednesday to get the next episode, and I hope it's good. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought, and thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys later.